Hello and welcome back to the Football Rundown. We're here today to talk about England, of course, Euro 2024, and England managed to do the job against Holland. Obviously, we're going to speak about that today. We're also going to speak about the first semi-final as well, of course, between Spain and France. We know that, of course, Spain are through to the final. They will take on England, of course, on a Sunday evening. Bit of a late kick-off time, I think, for a Euros final, 8 o'clock Sunday evening. Not brilliant for those that want to go out potentially afterwards if the result goes the right way, potentially go out afterwards if the result doesn't go our way, quite frankly. So I don't think that it's the best time. I know some people talk about a potential bank holiday. I think it's far too late, really, to try and make a decision on that. We won't know the outcome of the game till quite late on Sunday evening, so I can't see anything happening with that. But of course, England, like I said, managed to do the job against Holland. It was not plain sailing. We didn't think it was going to be plain sailing, to be fair. I think we know that with Gareth Southgate, it's not going to be plain sailing. We know that we're going to be put through the motions watching England, and I think that's part and parcel of watching football anyway. Particularly knockout football, particularly international football. Some of the best teams have put people through their emotions during this tournament, and England continue to do that in this semi-final as well. Whilst we did manage to win it just about in normal time, there were moments where I think some people thought it was going to go to extra time. I was never one of those people, to be fair. I always felt, I don't know where this goal was going to come from, but somehow we were going to do it, or the game would be decided in 90 minutes, whether or not that was going to be Holland or England. I wasn't too sure about, but with a few minutes to go on the clock, I still felt confident that the game would be done in 90 minutes, and I did feel confident that it would be England that would do that job. Like I said, I didn't know where that goal was going to come from, but I knew that the goal was going to come somewhere, and it did, which was brilliant for everyone to have it wrapped up quicker than obviously extra time penalties. It just creates more tension, creates more stress, and quite frankly, we didn't need that, to be honest. We did enough to win in 90 minutes. Let's get into the beginning of the game. We'll start with the game. We'll start with team selection, because there was a lot of conversation about how Gareth Southgate would set up this England side going into the semi-final, having made a few changes, or made the one change with Conser coming in for that quarter-final. Were we going to keep Conser in? Were we going to maybe switch things up a little bit? Let's wait and see. What did Gareth Southgate decide to do, though? Gareth Southgate, of course, decided to make just a one change, bringing Mark Gay back in for Conser, which was a bit of a surprise for me. I think that Conser performed well. I said in the video, I thought that maybe we could potentially have dropped Stones, who hasn't had the best of tournaments, to be fair, and I would have gone with Conser and Gay, but he did decide to make just a one change, and we did find ourselves going 1-0 down pretty early on in the game. Within the first 7 minutes, Holland had taken the lead 1-0, and I felt at that point it's a little bit deflating, because all that hype going into the game. I went out. It's the first game I've watched out. Actually, first game I haven't watched at home. Went out into Manchester to watch it. A lot of build-up. Got there early. An hour ahead of the game. You're just waiting for kick-off, and then to go 1-0 down so early, you just feel beaten. But I think the good thing is England didn't feel beaten. They responded quickly enough. But just before we get on that, we are going to talk about the goal that Holland scored. Declan Rice just not looking after the ball well enough, which is a player you would expect to be looking after the ball given the position he's playing in, given the job he's been asked to do. He didn't keep the ball well enough. Xavi Simons, of all people, pushed him off the ball, one of the shortest players on the pitch, shoved him off the ball, and just runs through like there's no one there, gets the shot off Jordan Pickford. I think he even gets a slight hand to it. Could have done a lot better, to be honest, Jordan Pickford, with that. But we let him off because he's had a brilliant tournament for England. He's always good for England. And whilst he should have done better there, I think he did redeem himself throughout the rest of the game. As an England fan, I love Jordan Pickford anyway. I think we saw it in the shootout as well in the previous game, how important he is when it matters most. He's got a very good way of dealing with opposition, and massive fan of Jordan Pickford. But like I say, go 1-0 down, it's not ideal, especially that early on in the game. But we do bounce back with a controversial decision when Harry Kane falls down the penalty area. Dumfries, I think it is, sticks a foot out to try and block the shot, catches Harry Kane after the shot. A lot of controversy. For me personally, I didn't even think about a penalty. It didn't look like a penalty to me, so I didn't even think we were going to get one. A little bit. It took a little bit of time, really, and then obviously had the VAR check. Then the referee points to spot. It has been given. I don't really think it's a penalty, if I'm being completely honest, but I'll take it because England have had a lot of things go against them in the previous tournament, so I'll take it. And obviously, we managed to put that one away. Harry Kane on from the spot, 1-1. Not long after, well, not really. It's only 20 minutes into the game. Suddenly it's 1-1. 2 goals gone in. Very similar to the night before, where we had 2 goals within the first 25 minutes. So at that point, you're thinking, okay, England haven't started well, but they managed to get a little bit of luck go their way, found themselves back level in the game, and throughout that first half, from then on, England controlled the game. and by far the better team, to be honest. Obviously, I would say it as an England fan, but yeah, I think we were by far the better team. Looked a lot more in control. We had chances in the game as well. Second half, I think that Holland come back into it a little bit. There is a moment where it looks a little bit like maybe we do need to mix things up a little bit. It's starting to get late in the game. We're starting to think, some people are starting to think, is it going to go to extra time? England are starting to look not quite as energetic as they did in the first half. So there is a little bit of concern there at that point in time. But he makes the changes, I think is the right time. He brings on Watkins, he brings on Cole Palmer. He takes off, Foden and Kane, 2 big calls. And then, of course, you have that moment where Cole Palmer finds Ollie Watkins, who then goes on to score the winner. I mean, it's just perfect for Gareth Southgate because he's had a lot of criticism in this tournament, mainly for the way that he picks the team and the substitutions. And last night he got the substitutions absolutely perfect. A player that gets the assist, a player that scores the winner, both off the bench at the same time. From a Gareth Southgate point of view, he'll be thinking, I've done it here. What a brilliant move it was by the manager. And obviously, it was a good finish from Ollie Watkins as well. So obviously then, it's just a case of holding on for those last few minutes. And we did just that. It was a brilliant game to watch in the end because we got the right result, we got the right outcome. And I always felt we were going to be in this final. I always felt we were going to beat Holland, to be honest. I couldn't see Holland winning the game. But I knew that they would have threats in the game. And I think they did have threats in the game. Obviously, Xavi Simons with that goal early on. But I think generally, we did okay. I was a little bit worried when Weghorst came on because he's a bit of a handful. He can create something out of nothing, whether that's an assist, whether that's a goal. He is, good from set pieces as well, which is, I think, something that England did struggle with, to be fair, throughout the game. Throughout Gareth Southgate's time in charge of England, one thing that has been a constant is England's brilliant ability from both attacking and defending set pieces. That's something that we've really struggled with in this tournament. And to be fair, Holland's probably best moments in the game against England last night did come from set pieces, besides obviously the Xavi Simons goal. So I think we generally, dealt with everything in the best way possible, but that would be the one concern, was set pieces. Spain, on the other hand, though, in the final, who we're going to take on, I'm not sure how they are from set pieces. I don't think it's something they particularly focus on, but I'm sure they have got players that can cause threats. Rodri, for example, is one player, just to name one, who could be a handful from set pieces for us if we're not careful enough. But how do I think this final is going to go? Obviously, I'll talk probably about it nearer the time in terms of a preview for the final, but I think it's going to be an interesting one. I always say that, but obviously a final, 2 teams, one team that's played brilliant throughout the tournament, one who's started to look better as the tournament's come on. I think it'll be really interesting. I think obviously you've got some remarkable young players in both teams. Lamine Yamal for Spain, but even England have some brilliant players as well. Brilliant young players, Kobe Mainoo. I thought last night it was brilliant, that Phil Foden, but should have been a goal, that Phil Foden moment, which of course was cleared off the line. That came from Kobe Mainoo. It could have been created in Stockport and scored in Stockport, that goal. It would have been brilliant. It would have been headlined throughout Manchester, that's for sure. And of course Stockport. So unfortunately it didn't happen. I thought, to be fair, Phil Foden did as much as he could to squeeze that one in. It just couldn't go our way. But like I said, we did have chances in the game. He obviously nearly hit the top corner as well, but on the outside of the post on that occasion. So we did have chances in the game. We did look convincing. And I think, like I said, I think we got better as the tournament's come on. I think it's going to stand us in good stead. I think that Gareth Southgate's got his act together at the right point in the right point in the tournament as well. I thought he got the game plan perfect against Switzerland. I thought he got the game plan perfect last night, and hopefully he can get the game plan perfect against Spain in the final as well. But what I would say is we've had a bigger challenge game upon game in this tournament. Maybe the Slovenia game after Denmark, but Denmark was an upgrade on Serbia. You could argue Slovenia maybe was a downgrade on Denmark, but then Switzerland again, Slovakia, was an upgrade on Slovenia. Switzerland was an upgrade on Slovakia, and then of course Holland was an upgrade on Switzerland. And we faced and passed all those tests, and now it's a case of, can we go all the way? Can we beat Spain in the final? I believe we can. To be honest, I think that obviously you would expect Spain to have a lot of the ball. You would expect them to play well, a bit like what I said would happen in the semi-final against France. I thought France would have edged that, to be honest, but I always maintained that I thought that Spain would control the game. I thought Spain would play good football, and I think it'll be no different in the final on Sunday. I think they will control the ball. I think, to be honest, Southgate will probably go back with a back 3 or back 4, but one that can go into a back 3. And I think we'll let Spain have a lot of the ball. I think we'll try and press high and put them under pressure. But I think largely, for the most part of the game, we'll let them have the ball. It's about what we do when we do have the ball. I think we've got players who can create moments out of nothing, and Cole Palmer showed that with that brilliant ball into the feet of Watkins late on last night. So I think it's going to be a really interesting final. I do. I think you've got two teams which are very different kind of teams. I think that you've got one team that's very good in possession. I think you've got a team that's not been brilliant with possession throughout the tournament. They're starting to get better though. England are starting to grow in confidence, and I'm just hoping that we can do the job against Spain. But obviously, I think a lot of people would have their money on Spain, given how well they've played throughout the tournament. We've just got to hope that we catch Spain on an off day. But I think England and Southgate have done a brilliant job to get here, because it hasn't been easy, hasn't been plain sailing, and he has had to make big calls. He has had to make tough calls en route to this final. And I think that we've got to give credit where it's due to Southgate. I think if you're going to be so critical of him at the beginning of the tournament, and early on in the tournament, and I always say rightly so, I think the points that I was making, I think the points that the people around the country were making, I think they were right. But I think then you've also then got to acknowledge and give praise when he gets it right. And at the moment he has got it right. And I think that a lot of people would have called to take certain players off and bring on certain players, and ultimately Southgate has ignored that. He's parked it to the back of his mind. He's focused on what he thinks is the right thing to do. Some would call it stubbornness, but I think it's been proven to be the right decision up until now. And I suppose what we will say is it going to get us over the line though? Is that management? Is that way of thinking? Is that going to be the thing that's going to get us over the line against Spain? Because we've been here before in a Euros final against Italy where we've done really well to get there. We had a little bit of luck to get there as well, a bit like what we've had throughout this tournament. We haven't really had to face anyone major opposition just yet, and I think that now it's about what we're going to do. Are we going to get over the line? Because as I say, we have been here before, even against Croatia back in 2018. Didn't really face anyone. Went up against Croatia again, a team really that England should be beating, but they were a very good team back then, and we came unstuck. And I think that's been the problem with Southgate, is we have had good moments whilst he's been in charge of England. We've had some brilliant moments, but then when it matters most, that semi-final in 2018, we come unstuck. That Euros final in 2020 or 2021 for Euros 2020, we come unstuck on penalties. And then, of course, France in the quarterfinals in Qatar 22. We just seem to always come unstuck when it matters most. And just when you need to get over the line against a top team, that has been the issue. And I'm hoping that it'll be fourth time lucky for Gareth Southgate this time. Hopefully he's learnt from the mistakes. The evidence in the last two games suggests that he's starting to act a little bit more decisively. And as I say, hopefully that'll stand us in good stead for the final. And like I say, I am looking forward to it. I am hopeful we're going to win it, and I do believe we are going to win it. As I say, if I was a betting man though, I would put my money on Spain, and if I wasn't an England fan and I was a neutral, I'd probably say that I think Spain are going to win it. So it's one then. Maybe it's just into nation bias, but I can't help that. I'm only human. But as I say, I'm looking forward to this final. I am hopeful England will do the job. I do think Gareth Southgate's done well to get us to this point. I do think he's made the correct decisions up until now. I want to get your thoughts on what I've just said there about Gareth Southgate. I want to get your thoughts on what you think of England's journey to the final. What do you think about last night, the performance, the decision making from Gareth Southgate? I want to get all your thoughts in the comment section below, of course, and also I want a score prediction for the final on Sunday as well. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe as always, and thanks for watching, and hopefully football will be coming home.